So you want to know more about DVC? In this video, I'm going to be covering some of your burning questions, like how much is it going to cost me? Is it really worth it? Well, let's find out, shall we? Hi guys, and welcome to another video. So what is DVC? It stands for Disney Vacation Club, and it is a Disney timeshare program. So you are buying a contract. It starts at 50 years from the date the resort begins sales till the end of its contract. How long does the contract last for? That will all depend on which resort you decide to purchase as your home resort. This is a list of when the DVC resorts expire. So some of them are obviously Grand Floridian, Polynesian, Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary Resort, the Animal Kingdom Lodge, just to mention a few. So should I buy resale or directly from Disney? Buying resale, not from the Disney company, you don't get the same perks as you would as if you were buying them directly from Disney. And some of these perks include table service meals. You can get 20% discount off those, 20% discount off merchandise. Buying directly from Disney, you get access to Moonlight Magic events, which is after hours events. We've been to one in Typhoon Lagoon, which was a lot of fun. You can also get discounts off hard ticketed events like Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, and also off annual passes. And there is a big discount off annual passes when you're a DVC member. So these are the costs here for an annual pass. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. We'll talk about that in a later video. If you decide to buy directly from Disney, the minimum amount of points that you need to purchase to get the perks is 150 points. So my next question is, how much does a DVC cost? So that will very much depend on which resort you buy into. An example of one of the contracts that's available, 150 points in the beach club, directly from Disney would cost you approximately £30,750 or $41,250. These are just approximate values. It's quite accurate because I only researched it last night, but it's like there or thereabouts. If you were to purchase the same number of points, resale would be £13,900 or $18,600. The contract runs out to the beach club in 2042, so you've only actually got 16 years left of that one. So I would say it is not worth buying that one directly from Disney, paying over £30,000 for a contract that runs out in 16 years. If you wanted to buy the beach club, I would get that resale, and the price comes down because the contract is coming down as well. Another example is the Riviera. So 150 points directly from Disney in order for you to get the perks. That would cost you £26,100 or $35,000. Again, these are approximate figures. Resale for 150 points would be £13,500, $18,000. But there are restrictions apply now with the Riviera. So Disney is trying to get people to purchase the DVC directly from them. So they've started applying restrictions now for any resale. So for the Riviera, if you purchase the Riviera as resale, then you can only use that to book the Riviera. Whereas if you buy it directly from Disney, then you can use it to book the other DVC resorts as well. So I think they've started doing that so it's post January 2019. So since then, any resale contracts will have restrictions on them. And also, if you purchase resale for any of the other contracts, like say the Polynesian, Grand Floridian, Bay Lake Tower, you can't use that for the Riviera. So those are the restrictions that they're starting to bring into play. Are there any hidden costs? So when you buy the DVC, you pay one big lump sum. So like I said, for the Riviera directly from Disney is £26,000. That is a one-off £26,000. That is a one-off cost. But then each year you have to pay annual dues. For our two examples, the Beach Club, for 150 points, the annual dues is £1,100, $1,500. And then for the Riviera, for 150 points, would be just over £1,000 or $1,400. So that is an annual fee. You have to pay that every year, and that goes towards the maintenance of the resort. So I think like the older resorts like Old Key West, they have got higher dues, whereas something like the Grand Floridian, the dues aren't so high for that, because I'm assuming the upkeep isn't so much. What hotels are the options to buy into for DVC? Well, rule of thumb, it is any of the deluxe hotels. Like I said earlier, there are a few outside of Disney, so you can buy into Aulani, which is in Hawaii, and there's 2 resorts in California, and there's 2 beach resorts, Vero Beach. I haven't been to these, so I don't know much about those. But again, here is a list of all the resorts that you can purchase in. The majority of them are on Walt Disney World property. So how do you actually book your holiday? So once you have become a DVC member, you would then go on to the official DVC website, and there is options at the top that you would select, and the one that you would go to is Plan Vacation, and then it'll just talk you through what you need to do. So that's how you go ahead and book your holiday once you have the vacation club. How easy is it to book the hotel that you'd like to stay in? For your home resort, so basically where you buy in the contract from, you have the option of booking that 11 months in advance. For all the other hotels, it would be a 7-month window. So for us, our home resort is the Grand Floridian. So if we decided to go on holiday, we can book the Grand Floridian 11 months before going on holiday. If we wanted to stay in the boardwalk or the beach club, we would have to wait for the 7-month window. So if you don't own any points in that particular hotel, you have to wait for 7 months. This is where it tends to get a bit tricky, because it is very difficult to get the resort that you would like to stay in at the 7-month window. So I would say we have stayed in almost every single DVC resort. There's a couple that we haven't stayed in. We haven't stayed in the Riviera. We haven't stayed at Fort Wilderness, the cabins at Fort Wilderness, but the majority of them we have now stayed in. So even though I said it's very difficult to book anything at the 7-month window, we have managed to do it for virtually all of the resorts. So we've stayed, some of the examples we've stayed in the Animal Kingdom Lodge, we've stayed at the Contemporary, we've stayed at the Polynesian, we've stayed at the Boardwalk, we've stayed at the Beach Club. The Beach Club, I would say, is one of the most difficult ones to get into, because the pool there is like a water park. It's got a lazy river and everybody wants to stay there. So that is really, really difficult to get into. So that brings me on to which hotel should I get my contract for? So following on from my last question, so if you've ever been to Disney World and you know, I really like the Boardwalk or I really like the Animal Kingdom Lodge, then my recommendation would be to buy the contract for the hotel that you would like to stay in, because you're more likely to be able to stay in that hotel regularly, because it opens up for you at the 11-month window. If you wait for 7 months, it is a lot harder. But having said that, you also want to look at the length of your contract. So like I said previously, for the Beach Club, was it? Yeah, the Beach Club runs out in 2042, so you've only got 16 years left of that, whereas the Riviera has still got 42 years left of it. So that means you would basically have points if you purchase points for the Riviera, you would have them for the next 42 years. When we purchased our contract, we got it for the Grand Floridian, and we had the full 50 years on it, which that is like, so it's going to run out in 2064. I'll be 90, but I'm still planning on going to Florida at 90 if I'm able to. Right, so how did we buy ours? So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So we went on holiday. We were going on a holiday to Walt Disney World quite frequently. And before we owned the DVC points, we would spend, for 4 of us, there would be myself, my husband and our 2 children, which were quite young at the time. Our average cost for a holiday was around about £7,000. So in 2014, we booked for the Old Key West, which is a DVC resort. So that reminds me, anybody can buy a holiday and stay in a DVC resort, even if you are not a DVC member. So we were staying in the Old Key West, which was a DVC resort, the oldest DVC resort, and it's got like a little kitchenette area in our room. So all the other resorts, like the moderate value, you tend to have a fridge in your room, but that's it. So with the DVC resort, with the little kitchenette, we have a fridge, a toaster, microwave, sink. So basically just a small kitchenette area. And we got talking to a family who were DVC members, and they said, oh, come and have a look at our room. So they actually had a 1-bedroom villa, and we were just amazed. The size of the room was like, this is fantastic. So it put it into our heads. So we met up with a Disney Vacation Club guide to run through everything with us. So we had very little knowledge of DVC at this point. So we went to a showroom, which was in the Grand Floridian. So we were picked up in a minivan, which that in itself was quite an experience. And we were taken over to the Grand Floridian, to the show home there. And we had a look around that. And then we had a quick chat with them. And we thought, yeah, okay, we'll go ahead and purchase this. So back in 2014, it cost us £10,000 for a 100-point contract. And back then we were able to get all the perks with the 100 points. Now it's gone up to 150. And the prices as well for the contracts have skyrocketed.
To infinity and beyond!
So how we actually physically did it. So we didn't have £10,000 to just spend willy-nilly on a DVC resort. We literally had just gone on holiday, so all our savings were gone on that, and our spending money, so we had spending money obviously for our holiday. So how we actually went about doing it was we used, I think it was $1,000, I want to say, as a deposit. So out of our spending money for that particular holiday, we took a big chunk of our spending money and put down a deposit. Then Disney did a finance check on us, which got approved. So we were able to get a Disney loan, Disney credit for the remainder of the £10,000. So from the $1,000 deposit to the £10,000, the difference we had on credit with Disney, which the interest rate was pretty extortionate for that. So then when we got home, back to Britain, we took out a standard bank loan over 3 years, which the bank loan was to cover the remainder of how much the DVC cost, and we paid Disney off in full as soon as the bank loan had been sorted out. So then our bank loan was over the next 3 years, and then once that was completely paid off, then we've got the DVC points for the next, it would have been 47 years then, because we were 3 years into our 50-year contract. So then for the next 47 years, we haven't got to pay anything and we get given these points. So that's how we physically did it. Like I said, the cost has gone up a lot more now. How many points does one night cost? So again, this will depend on what time of year you go in, what resort you want to stay in, and what type of room you want to get. So you could get a deluxe studio, you could get a 1-bedroom villa, and the bigger the room, obviously the more the points will go up. So I got a few examples literally just off a deluxe studio, which will sleep 5 people, because sometimes in some of the resorts there's a 5th bed. So it's for that many people really. So for example, if you wanted to book the 23rd of September this year, I've just plucked that date out at random in the cheapest category of time of year to go. So the 23rd of September this year is on a Wednesday. So if you booked on a Friday or a Saturday, the points go up by 1 or 2 points. To book the Grand Floridian, that will sleep 4 or 5 people, if it's got the 5th bed, would cost you 16 points. For the Beach Club, it would cost you 14 points. For the Animal Kingdom Lodge, it would cost you 10. And for Old Key West, it would cost you 9. But then, as a contrast to that, if you wanted to stay Christmas Eve and go over for the Christmas period, so you haven't got the higher premium of having it on a Friday or Saturday, but the cost still dramatically increases. So for one night in the Grand Floridian is 32 points. For one night in the Beach Club is 27 points. For one night in the Animal Kingdom Lodge is 23 points. And for one night in the Old Key West is 26 points. The points chart changes as demand changes, but the points pool remains the same. So like depending on demand, so it's got to, if one goes up, one comes down. So it'll even out over the whole period. So how many points should I buy? So you've come to the conclusion that you want to buy into DVC, and now your next question is, how many points should I buy? Like I've been saying throughout this video, 150 points directly from Disney would get you the perks that you need. So if you wanted to buy directly from Disney, I would get 150 points. But you can get any amount of points on resale. So for example, you could get 50 points in the Beach Club on resale and 100 points from the Grand Floridian, which that would run out in 2064. So that's got a much longer contract still. But then if you were to do that, then your 50 points that you purchased from Beach Club, then you could only book the Beach Club 11 months in advance with your 50 points. So if you had 50 points from Beach Club and 100 points from the Grand Floridian, you couldn't use your 150 points for the Beach Club 11 months in advance. But you could use 50 points 11 months in advance for Beach Club and 100 points for the Grand Floridian 11 months in advance. Other than that, you have to do it 7 months in advance. So what do I do if I can't book the hotel I want to stay at? If it is unavailable, you go onto the DVC website and it's showing that everywhere you want to stay is unavailable. What you can do and what we do every time we go on holiday is say we want to go on holiday for 2 weeks in October, the first 2 weeks of October. So we have a look for the first 2 weeks of October, what is available. And all that's coming up availability is Saratoga Springs and Old Key West. So what we would do is book one of those hotels or both of those hotels so that we know we have somewhere to stay if nothing else comes available. So we've booked our holiday for the Old Key West, but we don't really want to stay there. We want to stay in the Animal Kingdom Lodge or we want to stay in Boardwalk. So in that instance then you would make a wish list. How does the wish list work? So on your Disney Vacation Club website, there will be the option to make a wish list. So if something is unavailable that you want to stay at, for example, the Beach Club, which that is very unlikely to ever become available, then you would select it as a wish list to override your existing booking. So you've booked the Old Key West, so you know you've got somewhere to stay, but you really want to stay in the Beach Club. You're more likely to be successful if you put down 1 or 2 days rather than like a week. So say 2 days come available for the Beach Club, then the 2 days will override the Old Key West. So you've got for those particular dates. So say if it was the 1st and 2nd of October you put as your wish list, but you booked right up till the 7th of October, then the 1st and the 2nd would show as Beach Club, and then the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th would show as Old Key West. So you don't lose the other 5 days. It doesn't make those disappear. It just overrides the 2 days you put in as a wish list. And then when that's become available, then you could do, say, the 3rd and 4th. Put that down as a wish list for the Beach Club, and then that might become available. So then you get a block, but they might end up moving you from one room to the other. It's very unlikely, but it could possibly happen. If you do like 1 or 2 days at a time, it'll show as separate bookings, and they might end up moving you from one room to the next. But what if I can't go on holiday this year? So if you can't go on holiday for whatever reason, due to illness or there being, let's say, an epidemic, we've all been there, haven't we? Then what you do in that instance is you can save your points. So for us, we have 100 points. So for any one holiday, the maximum number of points that we can use for a holiday is 300. So we can use 100 from last year as long as you've banked it, 100 from this year, so you have to bank it every time it comes available. You have to bank your points. So 100 points from last year, 100 points from this year, and you can borrow 100 points from next year. So that's how you can save your points towards a holiday, say next year. But you need to be careful that the points don't expire. When COVID hit and we were not able to go on holiday, when the restrictions first started lifting, American citizens could travel from one state to the next, could go on holiday, but we were not allowed to fly over to America for quite some time, and we would have lost our points. Basically, instead of losing the points completely, we were able to book a 4-night stay in the Contemporary Resort with a theme park view, and we sold that then to an American family, and we sold it for £1,200. As, if nothing else, if you're thinking of the DVC as an investment, if you look at our initial £10,000 that we paid, and then we just sold one holiday, 1 year's worth of points, so it was only 100 points for £1,200, then you take that £1,200 from our 10,000 that we initially paid, which then our contract has now cost us 8,800. So we've only got to do that like 8 times throughout the year, and it's paid for itself. And then we still get all these holidays, all these benefits, and it hasn't cost us any money.
Boo! 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 Boo!
So it is really good for an investment as well, even if you don't want to go on holiday to Disney World every single year. Can you use your DVC points in other places, other countries, not just in Disney World? Yes, you can. So you can use it in Disneyland Paris. You can use it on cruise lines. There's Adventures by Disney. We haven't actually done that. So we haven't used our points for anywhere other than Walt Disney World, because if you look at the points chart, then, like I said previously, to stay in one of the Disney World resorts might cost you, say, 15 points a night, compared to Disneyland Paris on the 23rd of September, which, if you remember, is the cheapest time to stay in Disney World. To stay in the Newport Bay Hotel for 1 night is 39 points. So it jumps up dramatically. Same with the cruise line. If you wanted to use your points for the cruise line, which you can do that, it uses a lot more points. So what I would probably do in that instance, if I wanted to go to Disneyland Paris or I wanted to go on a cruise, then I would sell my points to somebody else for a holiday for £1,200 like we just had, and use that money towards the cruise or to go to Disneyland Paris. I think that would be a better option. What do I do if I don't want my DVC contract anymore? So I've had it now for a few years and I've decided this isn't for me. I'm not making the best of it. I don't want it anymore. That's where the resale contracts come from. Disney has first refusal on buying back your contract. If they're quite happy for you to sell it on, then you can sell it on, and that's where the resale contracts come from. So if you wanted to buy a resale contract, then you could do it the same way, but in reverse, that you're selling your DVC contract, and that's how it works. So what happens if I die? What happens to my contract then? So your contract would then be handed down to your next of kin, and it would then be theirs. So would you recommend having the DVC? Yes, I would. It has completely changed how we holiday. We have a lot more flexibility of where we go, when we go, where we stay. We have now mini holidays inside our 2-week holiday. So we would previously go, before DVC, we would say book the French Quarter and stay there for 2 weeks. We don't do that anymore. We now would maybe stay 3 nights in the boardwalk, 4 nights in the Grand Floridian, or whatever. We mix it up and we stay off-site for Universal as well. So like I said previously, I will make another video on how we holiday now and the best way of saving money that way. But for the purposes of this video, which is talking about DVC, we have that flexibility now that we didn't have before. I've already touched upon it, but for no other reason, you could purchase it as an investment, so you could make money from purchasing the DVC as well. You could sell it to other people that want to go on holiday that don't necessarily want to commit to purchasing a DVC contract for £30,000. So you could make money off it that way. And also the other main reason I would say that yes, it is 100% worth buying the DVC. Since 2014, the holidays that we have gone on, we have stayed in the Contemporary Resort with a theme park view. We've stayed in the Animal Kingdom Lodge with a savannah view. We've stayed in 1-bedroom villas in the deluxe resorts. We've stayed in the Polynesian. We've stayed in the Grand Floridian. None of these holidays we would have been able to afford before having the DVC. Is just completely out of our reach. And I will give you an example for a 1-night stay, how much it would cost us. So for the cheapest time of year, to stay in the Grand Floridian, a deluxe studio which would sleep up to 5 people, that would cost you £543 on the 23rd of September, which is the cheapest time of year to go. If you wanted to go and stay there on Christmas Eve, it would cost you £1,133. Same then for the Animal Kingdom Lodge for a 1-bedroom villa with a savannah view overlooking the animals on the 23rd of September. That would cost you £687, and over Christmas Eve it would cost you £1,351, and that is just for 1 night. So if you multiply that by 14 nights for a 2-week vacation, that is just unaffordable. So that's why the DVC for us has just been amazing. So if I knew in 2014 what I know now, would I do anything differently? Would I change anything? I would. I'm really glad we've got a 50-year contract. So it's only from doing the research for this video that I realised the lengths of the contracts changed that dramatically. I didn't realise that before. I would have liked to have bought into a resort that we would have liked to have stayed more. So like I've already previously said, the beach club is really, really hard to get into. So I would have liked maybe some points in the beach club or the boardwalk or the Animal Kingdom Lodge. The Animal Kingdom Lodge is probably our favourite resort. That's where we like to stay the most. So maybe I would have liked to have bought a contract for there. It is very difficult for us to stay in the Grand Floridian because of how many points per night it costs. Our 100 points don't go that far. But we've got the option, obviously, of buying resale contracts now because we already have the perks from buying directly from Disney. So it's in our best interest to buy resale. Probably I would never buy directly from Disney again, because we don't need to, because we already have the perks. So you only need to buy one contract for 150 points now directly from Disney in order to get the perks. And once you've done that, then anything else you can buy resale. On our last vacation, we were talking to an American lady, and she has got multiple contracts in multiple DVC resorts, to the point that she pays over $10,000 a year for her dues. So obviously the more properties you buy, the more you have to pay in dues. But there's still nothing compared to how much you would be paying if you were paying full price for those hotels. It's still worth doing it. So in summary, if you hadn't already guessed, that yes, I would definitely recommend getting DVC. It has been one of the best purchases we've ever made. And yes, I know it is frightening. It's a big expense when you look at the figures, like £30,000 for a contract, £26,000, whatever. It is a big commitment, but you can use it to make your money back. And the price is just going to keep increasing. So to get exactly the same contract as what we've already purchased would now cost you £20,000. So it has jumped up considerably since 2014, but in a few years' time it's going to cost even more. The price of inflation and the way everything is going up, and the contract is going to be getting smaller. So I would, if you were seriously thinking about buying a DVC contract, I would get one that's got a long contract and one that is somewhere that you would like to stay. I love the fact that we have got deeds for the Grand Floridian. It's a fantastic feeling. And plus, oh, one other thing, hang on. And if nothing else is worth it, for £30,000, you can get things like this. Little freebies. So these are magnets. So you can get things like this, and pins, you know, your magic bands. We've had like one of those little toggly things that keeps the magic band in place. So just little things like that, and it just makes you feel really good. My last holiday, we attended a DVC meeting, so it was 30 minutes out of our time, and we received a bag for doing it with no obligations of purchasing more points. But that's what I keep my camera in now, so I love that. And also, what I didn't mention earlier, in 2014 when we first purchased the DVC points, because we did it there in Walt Disney World, we actually were gifted 100 points as a sweetener, I think, to get us to sign on the dot. So I don't know if you would get that again now. So as well as buying the contract, we also got given an extra 100 points so that we could buy our next holiday, because we just obviously paid £7,000 or whatever it was to get to Walt Disney World. For us to buy the DVC, they said, oh, we'll give you an extra 100 points as well. So as well as the contract, we got given that. And also, and I believe this is again a no obligations thing, so if you do decide to speak to a Disney Vacation Club guide whilst you're on holiday, the time that it takes out of your holiday is obviously precious. That's what you've paid for your vacation time. Then we got gifted a $50 gift card to spend in Disney as well, and that was purely for our time for speaking to them about the DVC. And yes, we did sign on the dotted line, we did buy the contract, but I think we would have received that $50 gift card even if we hadn't of. So again, I don't know if they would do that now, but that is what they did back then. Yes, I would suggest go for it. If you know you want a holiday in Florida in particular, and if you don't, then it is a good investment anyway. So do you think it's worth it? Leave comments in the comment section and let me know, either if you have bought into the DVC and you like the fact that you've bought into it, or if you think it's a waste of time and money. Then please let us know, and it will help other people in deciding whether or not they would like to purchase it also. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful to you. If you would like to know more about the Disney dining plan, then click on this video here. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and like and subscribe. Good night, North Star.
You know, to me, that's all